Hello and welcome to Agri-Talk. It's a combination with Ohio State University South Centers and Rio Grande University. Today I'm Duane Rigsby, and we have a co-host with us, Brad Bergefurd. But before we get started to talk about strawberries that we're going to talk about today, I think, earlier, one of the first shows that we did with Agri-Talk, we actually talked about hops. And Brad is actually the backbone to this hops program that we have, but we'll bring that back to another show shortly. I'm sure of that, because it's a big topic out there. Usually Mike Thompson's with me, but he's in the background running the show. So if you hear a little coughing, he's a little under the weather today. So today we have Brad Bergefurd. He's a horticulturalist at the Ohio State University South Centers. He's also a county extension agent in Scioto County, and I'm going to let Brad talk just a little bit about himself and how he's become this great horticulture person.
I don't know about great, but it's a pleasure being here today, Duane, and appreciate being on Agri-Talk today. And I started with Ohio State University about 24 years ago, and our main goal within Extension is to conduct research and educate our growers and farmers and clientele on, in my area, agriculture opportunities that they may have for their farms. That can be livestock, it could be horticultural crops, it can be gardening, anything we can provide education and assistance with. For my area of specialization, which is commercial fruit and vegetable production, that's what I do. I research and conduct demonstration projects in schools and educational programs on high-value agricultural production that could be implemented on our southern Ohio, or any farms actually throughout Ohio or throughout the nation. We target high value specialty crops for this area of the state because we do have a lot of small acreage farms, and they don't have the opportunities to produce large volumes of grain production like the majority of Ohio is. It's mainly corn, soybean production, and our small farms don't have those opportunities. So they still want to provide for their families off of a small acreage farm. So by researching and conducting educational programming on these high value crops, a farm family can actually make a living then on a small acreage farm, because some of the income levels could be 10 to 20 times higher than our traditional corn and soybean crops.
Right, and there's lots of high value crops, like the strawberries that we're going to kind of get into today, but what are some of the other crops that you would consider high value?
Well, at the South Centers, where we've both have worked for over 20 years, we've researched a lot of new crop opportunities for our farmers. We've looked at cucumbers, cantaloupe, watermelon, peppers, tomatoes, and believe me, those have all been adopted by our local farmers, and they're doing well, but we never stop. We always want to look at other high-value crop opportunities, and you mentioned the hops earlier on a previous edition of this show. And hops is a new one that we are exploring because we have a big demand in terms of market. The craft brewing industry has just grown with leaps and bounds here in Ohio, and the one thing missing is those craft brewers are having to purchase those hops as well as the malting barley from out-of-state producers, mainly from Oregon and Washington. So we identified, me and another researcher, Dr. Mary Gardner, we identified that possibly we can bring that crop back to Ohio. And so that's the new one that we're looking at. But today I want to talk about our strawberry research that we have been conducting. We've been conducting strawberry research since the South Centers opened over 20 years ago, but we've really adopted some new research technologies for strawberry production to try to help our farmers make more money, more income, and extend the harvest season. Traditionally, strawberries are just a 3 to 4 week harvest window. Our traditional strawberries have been the matted row strawberry production system, where they're also called June bears because they mainly come into harvest in June. Well, a farmer can only make an income then for 3 or 4 weeks out of the year. And one of our research objectives starting back in '99 was to look at new production technologies that can extend that harvest maybe up to year-round production in some cases, but really doubling that harvest season by adopting some new technologies, which we have researched, like I said, since '99, and they are now adopted by our farmers, and our farmers are making more money per acre and are also increasing their harvest season by adopting these technologies, which we'll talk about here in a bit.
Now, the new technologies, you first said matted row. Now, tell me what a matted row is. Now, is that just one big giant row, or describe what a matted row is, just for the people that may not know a matted row, and then what are we doing new?
Okay. Matted row strawberry production, even if you've just had a garden, you've grown strawberries in your garden, that's the traditional historical way that we've produced strawberries in Ohio. You plant one mother plant this time of the year, and then that mother plant makes daughter plants, and then those daughter plants just make a big matted row, just a bunch of plants.
Just kind of shoots off all the time.
Yes, they provide the daughter plants, and then it's our job as gardeners or farmers to not let them get too thick, because the worst weed in a strawberry is the strawberry itself, because they will just keep making more daughters and it'll get too thick, and then they don't.
It just kind of takes over stuff.
It'll take over. So as a farmer or gardener, we need to make sure matted row is good, but we need to make sure it doesn't take over, so we can keep our yields up, keep our fruit size up, keep our quality up. And that is the traditional way that we've grown strawberries in Ohio for years, for generations. And it's been a good crop, but like I said earlier, it's also called the June bearing production system, which means you only harvest for the month of June at best. Usually it's about a 3-week window. So
now with new technology though, how early does that crop come off now?
We'll talk about some of the research that we've conducted since '99, but we can go so far as to actually cover a strawberry field with a greenhouse type of a structure that we call high tunnels. And down at the South Centers, where we're located there at Piketon at the research farm, we've actually picked strawberries the end of February. Inside those high tunnels or those greenhouses. So that's the extreme. Usually plants require sunlight to flower. And so, here in Southern Ohio in February, it can still be pretty cloudy, but we have produced strawberries and harvested strawberries the end of February. And we've harvested strawberries all the way up to Christmas before. So that with particular technologies that a farmer would want to invest in, the potential is there to harvest from the end of February, early March, all the way up to Christmas time and extend that harvest for that many months compared to just a 3-week season for June bears.
And that's really what makes it a high value crop is you can get in there and compete really with that California out west plant that we see come in a whole lot earlier in the grocery stores and stuff, and now our local farmers can get that in that grocery store a whole lot quicker. And
that is a good point you bring up, is the marketing on any of our specialty crops, our high value specialty crops. We have researched at the South Centers since 20 years ago. Every one of those crops do require a marketing component. So we have a good business team located at our South Centers, as you know, Duane, that will help people establish a marketing plan, because unlike grain, corn, soybeans, even cattle, we don't have ready-made markets for this produce. We as farmers need to go out and develop those markets in advance. So you mentioned California and Florida. We're really not competing against those states because we have such a large local market share here in Ohio when it comes to locally grown fruits and vegetables, and we can't even fulfill the local demands that we have. So it does help if you can produce in that off season, but our farmers here in Southern Ohio are more targeting that local fresh produce market opportunity that we have out there. But you're right, we do need to establish a marketing plan. You don't just plant strawberries and not have any idea where you're going to go with those strawberries.
Absolutely. And to start off for there, say if a farmer wanted to start with this strawberry production and try to get into this process, how does one start? Do they just go out and buy plants, or do they should probably go see their extension agent or their specialist first and talk about that process? How does one start?
Well, like you said, I wear dual hats with my position. I am 2-day-a-week Scioto County Agriculture Extension Educator, and I also work up at the research farm, Piketon Research and Extension Center at Piketon, the other half. But that is where a farmer would want to go. They would want to first contact their county educator, agriculture educator, is usually your first point. Now you might have somebody that specializes in livestock or grain, but that's your first basic contact point to find out, hey, I got this idea, I'd like to grow strawberries on my farm in Gallia County. So you would go and see Jeff Moore, who's the Gallia County agricultural educator in this county, and then he would help you with simple issues like drainage and crop rotation and soil testing. A lot of the county offices will do soil testing. Then once that basic stuff's out of the way, then you would approach a specialist like myself, or if you're developing your marketing plan, somebody like Christy Welch, who's our marketing specialist there at the South Centers, develop your marketing plan. But once you get the basics out of the way with your county educator contact, then you would go and speak to somebody that's more specialized in the area. And really, I'm the only one, I don't know if it's because I'm a little crazy or what, but I am the only one doing any strawberry research in Ohio. So I would be, if you're interested in strawberry production, would be the go-to person. And I do need to mention that my South Centers appointment is a statewide appointment. I do work with producers throughout the entire state, where my Scioto County appointments, mainly Scioto County, but we still help out all the other neighboring counties. So you would want to contact somebody like me to find out what varieties have done the best, because not all varieties are California and Florida varieties. Not all of them will be adopted or adapted to our Ohio conditions. So you would want to talk to me then. Join our horticulture listserv. You can email me or go to our website, southcenters.osu.edu, and you can click on our horticulture section, and there you can find all of my past research reports on all the specialty crops that I have conducted research on for 20 years, and you can also get all the strawberry research reports. So then that gives you an idea what varieties have done well, what production technologies, and then you can start saying, okay, I would like to adopt plasticulture strawberry to try to increase my market about 4 weeks, because we can actually, with adopting plasticulture, we'll show some pictures here in a little bit, by adopting just the plasticulture technology, we can bump up our harvest 3 to 4 weeks compared to our traditional matted row. So you would want to definitely have a business plan, a marketing plan, and then a production plan, and that's where you would reach out to folks like us and join our listservs. Come to our field days. We're actually having a strawberry field day at Piketon at our research farm on May 21st. I'm going to showcase a lot of this new technology that we're researching, the plasticulture. We have a new matted row system, so we're not replacing matted row. We're actually trying to refine that production system as well. And the farmers or those that might be interested may want to come and see the opportunity, or take that opportunity to see these new production systems for themselves, walk the fields, taste the berries. And another neat thing we're going to have is a robotic harvester. We're working with a company here in Southern Ohio that has developed a prototype that they claim this robot will walk up and down the fields. I think it's a little machine with wheels on it, but it'll go up and down the fields and up and down the rows 24/7 picking strawberries.
Picking berries, wow.
Whenever you're looking at any specialty crops, though, labor is the big thing.
Labor
we don't have combines, and this strawberry robot or harvester is a first for U.S., we think.
You think for U.S.?
Because nobody is using any mechanical harvesters.
I know there's mechanical harvesters out there for berries or
for raspberries and brambles. And the hops.
It seems like there's one for peppers and tomatoes too.
We've showcased those at our research
seems like we've done
before.
those, but so this will be another first.
We'll see.
Strawberry.
We'll see. They got to convince me first. But
well, that all sounds great and stuff, but as you go along there, what kind of obstacles might somebody see? You were talking about being a specialist for the entire state of Ohio. Does one raise strawberries differently in Southern Ohio than they would in Northern Ohio, and different varieties? Or, I mean, I understand there's a lot of research to do with that, but obviously there's different obstacles from Southern to Northern Ohio.
Right, in any of our research, you mentioned the hops earlier. We have 2 hops research trials, one up at Worcester, Northern Ohio, and one at Piketon, Southern Ohio. We've done the same thing with strawberries. We have had strawberry research trials at our Fremont, Ohio Agriculture Research and Development Center. There's a vegetable crops branch up there. Back in the early 90s, we actually had some of this early research replicated at Fremont and at Piketon to see if there is any geographic differences between Northern and Southern Ohio. And we also have like I mentioned, the hops yards in Northern and Southern Ohio. And then we work with farmers. I have farmers doing some of the strawberry research on farm. clear up
site.
on the bay of Lake Erie, clear down to the shores of Ohio River and everywhere in between. So yes, we do develop those experiences and that research-based information for those different geographic locations. Another big hurdle that a farmer wanting to get into strawberries or any specialty crops will be money. It costs a lot of money to farm no matter what you're farming, but when we're doing specialty crops like the strawberries, especially plasticulture strawberries, a farmer could actually have $10,000 plus an acre invested in that strawberry planting before they ever get the first strawberry off of it. Compare that to a field of corn. We got $1,000 an acre wrapped up in a field of corn, where strawberries is going to cost us about $10,000 an acre. So you do have to have some good financing or some money that you can use to float that along. What's neat with plasticulture, though, is on matted row we plant now. We won't harvest until the following June. So we're looking at almost a 13 to 14 month turnaround. With plasticulture strawberries, we plant them Labor Day, thereabouts, depending on where you are in Ohio. We're harvesting by Mother's Day. So there's a 7 to 8 month turnaround on that cash. You don't have that cash tied up as long as you do with our traditional matted row berries.
Now on that, like you said, the $10,000 kind of out up front. Now that's not every year, right? Or is that how much of that will carry over to the next year? You know, would my upfront cost be $5,000 the next year or $3,000? Because I know it seems like you're going to have rows that's going to be established. Does those plants come out and you plant new plants? What's the process there?
What's different, we'll show you some of the plasticulture pictures here in a little bit, but with the annual plasticulture system, it is an annual crop. Once we're done with harvesting, we kill the plant off and we plant another crop into that same field, like pumpkins or tomatoes or squash. Matted row.
So you start over every year.
We start over every year, where matted row production is a one-time investment and it's a perennial crop. It will be there for 3 to 4 years.
That's what I'm used to seeing, or what I said. That's what my parents and grandparents and all that used to have all the time. Their strawberries was always there. We never replanted it, and it was always this great big square, and you just had to go through there. But replanting every year sounds like you've got some definite upfront costs. But how much more can a person generate funds from? I mean,
yields from our research trials, as well as our farmers reporting their yields, we can double, if not triple, on some production years, the yield over the traditional June bearing system. So the yield potential and the income potential is quite heavy. For instance, plasticulture strawberries will produce 20,000 pounds of fruit to the acre. And when we go to retail farmers markets, like a majority of our farmers go to, they're selling those strawberries for anywhere from $4 to $5 a pound. Wow. So if you figure 20,000 pounds at $4 a pound, it's not too hard to do the math that you can get a pretty good hefty return on that $10,000 an acre investment.
Right, you can get that back pretty quick. Sounds like on that.
If Mother Nature works.
You're right. If Mother Nature treats you well and the weather and everything.
And we'll show some pictures of how Mother Nature did not treat some of our farmers very well over the years. But there are ways to combat those issues.
You want to go ahead and start with a couple of pictures?
Yeah, we could go ahead and take a look at some
so
of those
if we could show up.
But this is that's a picture of our of what the plasticulture strawberries look like. As you can see, they are grown on a bed of plastic, which gives several benefits. The plastic mulch is just a sheet of plastic that we pull over top of the bed. As you can see, it keeps them fruit from laying in the soil, where if you ever went to another strawberry farm that grows matted row, those strawberries are laying right in the soil. You can't eat them because they're dirty, and they get a lot of soil-borne fungi that come out of the naturally occurring in the soil, can splash onto that fruit and actually rot the fruit. These fruit are laying right on that bed of plastic, no soil contact, no soil-borne disease organisms, beautiful clean fruit. And when you come to a U-Pick strawberry farm that's growing plasticulture, you can eat and eat and eat and not have to worry about having eaten dirty fruit. There is a couple techniques you see here. We're using some specialty equipment. These plants do like to be growing on top of a tall raised bed. A good example why we use raised beds, they warm up earlier in the spring, which again, that plant gets warmed up early in the spring, starts producing earlier. We can increase our sales that way. If you ever looked at a plowed field when the snow's melting, the snow always melts where that soil has been turned over and it's the highest peak. That's why we use raised beds like we're doing here, because the top of that bed will be warmer, warms up that root system more this time of the year. The plant grows quicker and earlier, and then we can start harvesting. There you can see a field in the fall. We do all this ground prep in July and August. And this would be a field ready to get planted the end of August, early September. We do sow a ryegrass in between the rows for one, weed control, two, prevent soil splashing, because if we left that bare ground there, we could get soil splashing, which could spread disease. So this would be what the field would look like, and this is us planting. We use a specialized planter called a water wheel setter, and all it does, it's a spike that rolls along the plastic, punches a hole in, and then folks on the back, like me there, and Beth, who's our research assistant there, we were planting that field. You got to be pretty fast. Tom Harker, he's our research assistant for horticulture, and none of this research would be able to be done if it wasn't for Tom Harker and Wayne Lewis, who's our farm manager. Those are the guys that really are out in the field. You know, I'm out teaching a lot and doing TV programs like this, and it takes those guys to manage those crops. This is what the field would look like in the fall, probably around November-ish, around Thanksgiving. We'll go ahead and pull covers over top of that, because with this system, our plants never go dormant. They do grow throughout the winter months, so we need to pull a row cover off over top of them to protect them from the winter. Then this time of the year, like right now, we've removed those row covers, but we need to monitor those temperatures, because those flower buds are starting to emerge, and it doesn't take too many low nighttime temperatures into the 30s that could damage that blossom, damage that fruit. So this is a digital thermometer that we've actually taken the thermocouple off of it and implant that thermocouple right into the strawberry blossom, and we can monitor the temperatures of that fruit, that blossom, as well as the plant canopy from my cell phone. I can be monitoring those temperatures, and then I can implement some frost protection or freeze protection methods, such as using water and icing my fields, or pulling row covers to prevent those tender blooms from getting damaged. I don't know what we got. Yeah, this is a good shot of right now, this time of the year. This is what they're looking like, and the plants will continue to grow, but you can see we've already got those first flowers emerged, and we will be harvesting strawberries 30 days from the time those flowers emerge. The bees are now out working the fields, because bees are required to pollinate those strawberry plants. So if you have a large field, it's beneficial to bring in some supplemental pollinators, like supplemental honeybee hives, to make sure you have adequate pollination occur, because we hate to lose those blooms. These are the structures I was talking about earlier, called high tunnels, where we can actually extend that season. This is where I said we've harvested fruit in February before. This can extend our harvest season both in the spring. This time of the year warms up 10 degrees warmer inside those tunnels this time of the year, so the plant grows quicker and can start blooming earlier. And then we can also extend the season in the fall. If we use certain varieties called ever-bearing varieties, they will produce fruit right up until Thanksgiving, and we can protect that fruit by using these high tunnel type structures to prevent frost and freeze formations from occurring both in the fall and the spring. This is when that alarm goes off on my cell phone, because that digital thermometer is picking up some cold temperatures. Frost protection is required. We can actually take those row covers, pull them over top of those tender blooms, and then we put a water to those row covers and form a layer of ice. As long as we keep freezing water, we can keep the temperature of that plant canopy right around 32, 33 degrees. You just hope the pumps don't go down, because if we get solid freeze, then we're sunk. But if we can keep applying water, the energy that is released from that ice formation is what keeps that temperature of that blossom right around 32, 33, and will not freeze it. And then, like I said earlier, all these specialty crops take a lot of labor. So you have to have lots of hands that are willing to work very hard and spend a lot of hours out there picking this fruit, because when you have 20,000 pounds of fruit coming on in a matter of 3, 4, 5 weeks, it takes a lot of hands to get that picked. And strawberries won't hang on the vine more than 24, 48 hours. We actually will pick every day once we get into the harvest season. But we have good quality fruit coming out of all of our research trials, as well as our farms, fields, and the demand for these types of berries when they're coming out of our fields is just people stand in line, and you can't take the money fast enough at these retail farmers markets when it comes to selling fresh strawberries this time of the year.
now there's a lot of, like you said, a lot of hands to pick all that. Now there's also you pick areas to where if you wanted to take your family or such to go, you can just go pick your own. Is that how I get?
Yeah, that comes down to your marketing plan again. You can do some pick your own. Pick your own used to be a very good marketing method back in the 70s before we had dual income families.
Yep.
When mom was home canning and cleaning and didn't have her day job, they would go out and pick fresh strawberries, a lot of pick your own beans and peppers and tomatoes. But today with the dual income, mom and dad both working, there's not as much free time to go out to the farm and pick your own strawberries. So there is an agritainment type of a thing to pick your own where you bring the children out and have them pick a quart or two. But then when they pick a quart or two themselves, they want to buy another 12 pre-picked. They don't want to stay out in the heat. They don't want to stay out, and they don't have the time to be on the fields picking. So pick your own is an option, but be ready, like those pictures show, to have a lot of hands to get that fruit off of those plants in an adequate time period, because we just can't move fields and fields of strawberries like we used to back in the 70s through the pick your own method.
Right. Well, that's all great stuff. Is there anything that we've kind of missed or you want to hit, especially for those farmers that are either thinking about trying to get into strawberry production, or is there something that we should cover that maybe the strawberry producers now should be thinking about in the future, such as a robot that's going to pick?
Come to the field day on the 21st of May. They're at South Centers, and you do need to register for that online. So you can go to our website, southcenters.osu.edu, click on the horticulture section. You can register for that field day. But always looking at new technologies, always looking at new varieties. One variety may have the same marketing quality traits that we want, but it might have a disease resistance, which can reduce our number of fungicides or chemicals we need to apply to keep the diseases down and make that job of growing strawberries all the easier. So you always want to be looking at our research results that are being published by OSU as well as other universities to look at new varieties, new production techniques, new frost protection technologies, and things like this robot.
Yeah,
let's see how this turns out.
That all sounds great.
But it all comes down to your marketing plan. You know, we are a small business development center at the South Centers. We have staff that will help you with that business plan. And what's neat with our small business development centers, we have folks that are business counselors that have an agriculture background. So they can actually help you develop that business plan from an agriculturalist perspective, where some of the other SBDCs always just have people that are familiar with your traditional gas stations and restaurants and those types. So we have folks that are at the South Centers that can really help get you started on that business plan, and then I'm pulled in from a production as well as a marketing standpoint as well. So get that business plan, make sure you have the labor, make sure your entire family, if there's going to be a family activity, make sure everybody is sold and bought in, because you will not be doing anything for Mother's Day. You'll be picking strawberries. You won't be doing anything for Memorial Day because you'll be picking strawberries. So if you want to give up a couple summer holidays there and grow strawberries, strawberry production might be for you.
That is sounds like quite a job.
Takes
I should
a lot
say.
of time,
a lot of labor, a lot of time consuming and stuff. Now, you know, when we showed the pictures, we seen the nice field that had the nice grass down the side and the nice rows. I know some people's going to say, well, how do you water that plant? I don't remember you saying anything.
I did not.
It rains. How does that plastic? It protects the water, right?
I did not, and so, I should have mentioned irrigation is essential, like you've seen when we frost protect with overhead, but under those beds, under that plastic, is drip irrigation. It's a technology developed in Israel. It's called Israeli drip technology, and it can actually reduce your water usage in half compared to the big sprinklers that we've seen pictures of. Plus, we're putting that water right underneath those beds where the plant's going to use it the most, right at the root system. Plus, we feed our plants through that drip irrigation system. We actually inject a liquid fertilizer through that drip, so we can cut our fertilizer costs in half, we cut our water usage in half, plus we're putting that fertilizer and that water right to the base of the plant where it's going to use it the most. And having that plastic mulch on there reduces the evapotranspiration. You don't lose your water as much. Plus, like you said, though, if you get a small rain,
Yeah.
you don't get near the percolation of the water, and it takes about an inch to get that water to percolate down into that plant bed. But yes, thanks for bringing that up. Irrigation is essential, so if your farm does not have a good source of water, strawberry production may not be for you.
Right. You might have to figure out other crop, other
backup
specialty crop.
Yes.
Which we may try to get you back on here
I'd like
to
to.
talk about that. And you never know. We might be back to hops. We might be doing tomatoes or something to that effect. So. Just remember that Agri-Talk is on the third Wednesday of every month, and we'd love to have everybody come back and watch the show again. For Agri-Talk and the Ohio State University South Centers and the Rio Grande University, I'm Duane.
And I'm Brad.
And we will see everyone next time.